So this is my first video, and I know it's a weird concept and some socialists out there are going to be mad because I'm not taking the theory seriously or blah 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 or whatever, but fuck it, right? I'm having fun and I'm bored and I'm playing my favorite game of all time even though I suck at it. So yeah, I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. The point of this video is to ask the question, why is socialism so radical? Now you ask this question, and you get a lot of people saying, ooh, socialism hasn't worked, or ooh, it's against human nature, or ooh, Stalin killed 70 million trillion people. And that's just not the way that you're supposed to handle this question. To talk about socialism and compare it to the current system, you have to talk about it conceptually. And what I mean by this is that when we talk about capitalism, we fail to take into account the many different manifestations of the system. I mean, sure, you know, you have great people-friendly states like Denmark and Norway where everybody's happy with their whatever, but you also have literal urban hells like Somalia and the Dominican Republic. And so if you're going to talk about capitalism conceptually as a great saving grace for humanity, you know, by the invisible hand, trademark, patent pending, then you have to apply that same kind of logic to socialism. So when I say conceptually, I don't mean comparing textbook definitions and plucky theory and looking at side-by-side models of what could happen in the next 20 years or blah blah blah. I mean looking at the negative and positive of either in order to form a broader concept of that ideal and see what it could be if it were carried out as a dominant system. This means that whether a country is quote-unquote truly socialist, you have to look at it through the lens that socialism is its guiding ideology. Which means that sure, you know, you have oppressive regimes such as, Stalin and Mao, but you have those under capitalism as well, like Augusto Pinochet, for example. But at the same time, you also have countries which have called themselves socialists or followed an obviously socialist ideology, and they've made very impressive strides. You know, for example, it's difficult to tell what's propaganda and what's not when it comes to Cuba, but what's undeniable is that the literacy rate went from something like 70% to 96% in the matter of a few years after the revolution. I think it's actually one, but I'm probably wrong on that. You know, in Burkina Faso, or Burkina Faso, I don't fucking know, under revolutionary Thomas Sankara, the country went from being reliant upon foreign food aid to entirely agriculturally self-sufficient in a matter of years. And whether we like to admit it or not, the Soviet Union went from being a feudal backwater state to being one of two world superpowers in a matter of 60 years. I mean, whether these countries were socialist or not is another discussion that gets into semantics and what is the state and what is socialism, and I'm not here to talk about that because I've got better things to do than have leftist splitters wanting my blood. But the point is that they called themselves socialist, and under planned economies got quite a bit done. Oh my fuck. Quite a bit done, you know, barring the bad, which we all already know about. And then there's the relative egalitarianism of what a lot of people would call true socialist societies, such as revolutionary Catalonia or the Free Territory in Ukraine. Can I do this? Can I do this? The Free Territory in Ukraine, which is vastly different from anything we've ever seen in a capitalist landscape by any means, and by many means better, even given the conditions. Rojava, in the current day, has produced several leftist militias that are currently doing loads of groundwork against ISIS, all the while having a society wherein people have far more autonomy over their lives, and women are held in higher regard than they are in other places in the same region. So with all of that in mind, it's not only incorrect, like factually, but it's intellectually dishonest to put one on a pedestal and say that no matter what, the other is bad. And doing that is kind of committing a sort of terrible subliminal bias that shuts down debate and doesn't allow fair and realistic worldviews to be formed. So with that in mind, let's look at what socialism is. Socialism has a lot of boring definitions, both, you know, prescriptive and descriptive, and good and bad, and propaganda and literary, but as a card-carrying socialist trademark, let me tell you my definition. Production for people rather than profit. By nature, this means that the things which produce, the factories, the offices, the farmland, all have to be in public control. Note that public control doesn't necessarily mean government control. In those states we talked about, revolutionary Spain and the Free Territory, it was... the Free Territory, the means of production were more or less stormed by the working people and seized. So you can't say that the government actively stole the hard-earned. No, this was a mass movement of working people getting angry and taking what they saw as rightfully theirs. In capitalism, they recognized a fundamental flaw. The capacity to produce on a large enough scale for everybody existed, but the capitalist system failed to do so. So what they did was seize control, and to that end, socialism makes a lot of sense. Why is it so radical to think that it's just a tad bit absurd that when we have enough to produce for everybody, we still fail to do so? No good has ever been produced in society that wasn't intended to be used within a society. So why, if everything is produced for society, is it so radical to think that instead of having a very selfish and inefficient system of commodity allocation, that we should rather put production to use for the people instead of profit? In fact, in saying this, I think I just want to make the point that, in a way, it's actually more radical. Why did I not go down this? It's actually more radical to support capitalism than socialism. I mean, after all, I live in the richest country, period. In this country, 1 in 5 children are below the federal poverty line. In this country, there's a homeless epidemic for no reason. There's 9 empty homes for every single homeless person. That's absurd. Capitalism has produced, an allocation of wealth such that 8 people have as much wealth as 3.5 billion people. You know, there are needless wars and territorial disputes fought in the name of capitalism, of money, of power. To quote a good old Nemo, capitalism has produced a worldwide situation where some countries have an obesity crisis while others have a mass starvation problem, and it's silly. Oh, fuck, I have to do the castle stage, which actually takes, like, sight and mind. So I don't know, right? Like, I'm bored, I'm playing my Mario, I'm being angsty, and I'm just thinking, why is socialism so radical? Why is the idea that production for people rather than profit, why is that idea so radical? You know, yeah. Well, that's it, I guess. I don't really want to ramble. If this goes well, I'll make more that are more in-depth, less of just, like, you know, send it to your liberal friends and convert them to fucking Stalinism. So yeah, just like, comment, call me homophobic slurs, all of that. And I will talk to you guys next time. If you're new to all of these ideas, I'll put a neato little starter pack thing in the description. So, yeah, thanks, pals, and wish me luck on this castle stage, because fuck.